YouTube. Today we're going to be looking at an FN57, and before we go any further, I'm going to show you that this FN57 doesn't have anything in it, and we are clear to make this video. So what we have here is a real controversial gun that came out in 1998. This thing was developed in 1998. So basically what it is FN developed this cartridge and this gun to possibly replace the 9mm in NATO. And they came up with the little PS90. It's a little bullpup, like rifle thing that shoots this cartridge, and they made this gun to actually use as a sidearm to accompany that little PS90 thing. And I do not have a PS90, and I'm probably never going to own a PS90, but notable that that's what this cartridge is developed for. So this pistol was actually made in 1998, and it was not available to the general public in the United States until 2004, because there was an assault weapons ban, and during that assault weapons ban you could not have more than 10 rounds in a handgun or any type of gun for that matter. Now this one here, this is going to hold 20 rounds of the 5.7 ammunition, so this thing's got a lot of capacity in it. And these 9mm people that comment on all my videos, they like velocity and they like capacity. This is going to be the gun for them. They need to throw away their 9mm and get them one of these things, because this in their eyes is going to be a better gun. Now what this thing is known for is it's an extremely small bullet. If you look at the bore here, and it is moving very fast, and we're talking 2,000 plus feet per second out of a pistol round, and it's got very low recoil. I think this thing's got 30 to 40% less recoil than a 9mm does. So when you're shooting this thing shoots flat, and there's like no recoil to it whatsoever. Now some of the features of it is it's got this weird, it appears to be a polymer slide, but it's not, folks. It is a metal slide with just a polymer sleeve on the outside. And it just has, some of the weird things about it is the safety where it's located. If you're one that's using safeties, probably going to have to do it with your finger over here. And that's going to be a training thing, because the majority of the people that shoot handguns on this earth are looking for a safety right here. And this thing right here is actually the slide stop. That's what the slide stop is right there, where the safety would normally be, and where the slide stop would normally be is where the safety is. So it's kind of complete opposite. It's not a big deal, but if you train with something, you'll get used to it. It's got a normal FN style texturing on it, which is really great. Not that you really need extreme texturing on this particular gun, because this gun's not going to have any recoil whatsoever. It has adjustable 3-dot sights for windage and elevation. If you look, there's your adjustments on it. The front sight post is really high. It kind of looks like suppressor height sights, even though this gun does not have a threaded barrel, nor do I think a suppressor would work real well on this, because it's such a fast moving bullet. I mean, you're not going to really quiet it down that much. You'd pretty much be an idiot if you put a suppressor on one of these things, but people do it. They do it every day. A 22 suppressor will work on it if you have a threaded barrel. Now, one of the features I do not like about this thing is when you pull the magazine out, it's got a magazine disconnect in it. So without the magazine in it, the gun is basically inoperable. You have to put the magazine in it to fire it. Now, the trigger on this thing is pretty awesome. It has about this much take up, and it just breaks clean as can be. And then the reset on it is right here, and it's a definite wall. Now, one of the reasons why that is so is because this is an internal concealed hammer-fired gun. This is not a striker-fired gun. This is a hammer-fired gun, and we'll show you when we break it down here in a second. But one of the things that people notice about this is how wide this grip is, and because it's basically looks like a bottled down rifle cartridge, like a miniature rifle cartridge. So the rounds are real long, and they go into this magazine, so the grip would have to be a little bit wider, you know, for it to do. So I'm going to show you how this thing breaks down. It's a little weird. Everything about this gun is a little weird. It feels pretty good in your hands. It's got a little Picatinny rail here. It's got serrations on the front for all the little press checkers out there. And I always give them a shout out, the press checkers. So it's got cocking serrations in the back, and it's got them in the front. And it's got this little lip right here, which is kind of cool for you can grab onto them with your thumb to cock this thing. This gun's very easy to operate. I think any beginning shooter or somebody that's intimidated by any type of recoil, this would be a great gun. Besides the cost of it and the cost to shoot it, other than that, this thing would be a great gun for a beginner to start out on, because the no recoil on it, it just feels good in your hand. It's easy to operate. It slides real easy to pull back. You know, you can do it with minimum effort. Now, when you go to break this thing down, so the first thing you're going to do is check, make sure it's not loaded. Point it in a safe direction. You have to have the magazine in it because it's got that disconnect. You pull the trigger, and I always fumble when I do stuff like this on camera. You're going to pull back just a little bit of tension on this thing and move this takedown lever out. Slide the slide forward and it just lifts off. Now, before we go any further, we're going to look at this frame here, and if you see, it's got an actual hammer on it. So this hammer just comes back and works just like a hammer fire gun. It's just on the inside. It's kind of very similar to the new Reflex. It just came out, the little Micro 9, which I've handled one of those here recently, and I think that's a pretty awesome gun. FN usually makes real good stuff. But yeah, anyway, this one's a little dirty and everything, but it's just a regular frame. It's just a hammer fired gun. Now, on the slide here, this one's a little bit different than what most normal firearm enthusiasts are used to looking at. So the way you do it is you remove this barrel, and the recoil spring and everything is all inclusive, all in one piece. So it's kind of neat. It's all integrated into one piece. And if you look at this slide here, you can see clear as day that this is a steel slide. It just has this polymer outside on it. So it's not a polymer slide, folks. But one of the advantages of this gun, there's a lot of them, is the weight of this gun. It is so light. I mean, this thing with this polymer shelled slide on it and everything, and just the FN 57 rounds are so light and everything. This thing almost feels toy light. So in order to put this thing back together, you're going to take this thing here. I'm going to try and do this on camera. You drop it in right where it is, and then there's only two little slide locations, and you just cock it back. Put the magazine back in it because it's got that disconnect, and check it for function. And you're back together here. Now, yeah, this thing, when it's all put together, it's very light. I don't see how this would be a very good concealed carry gun because of its mere size. I mean, it's a pretty large gun, but it is extremely light. It's pretty thin when you look at it, and it holds a lot of ammunition, 20 plus 1. You know, you're carrying around 21 rounds of a bullet that travels 2,000 feet per second. Now, this thing's been met with a bunch of controversy over the years, and the Secret Service actually carries this, from what I understand. This is their weapon of choice. But there was one police officer, I believe in Wisconsin, that got killed from one of these things, and the FBI or the ATF or somebody did a test and showed that this thing would penetrate low-level body armor, and the Brady organization and all the national gun rights people that are against firearms went up in arms, and they put this in front of Congress many times to try and outlaw this thing from being imported into the United States. And they call it the cop killer. Well, I mean, folks, it's just ludicrous if you think about it. Pretty much anything, if you aim it at somebody and shoot them, you're going to kill them. So, and one incident happens with this thing, and it all of a sudden becomes deemed the cop killer. I mean, It's just stupid, folks. People just try and overthink stuff and everything. No gun is dangerous till it gets in a dangerous person's hands, and there's nothing that should be controversial about this. It's actually an awesome shooting gun if you can afford to shoot it. The gun itself is pretty expensive as compared to other polymer guns. You know, you're looking at in today's times and the year 2024, you know, this is going to be $1,000 to buy this thing. And, you know, most Glocks are $500. So, you know, it's going to be double the price of most polymer frame guns. But the ammunition is a little pricey too, but that's starting to get under control. When this thing came out, this was an exclusive FN thing because they're the ones that developed the cartridge and they're the only ones that made the gun. Now several people have caught on. Ruger's made a 5.7 pistol. Smith & Wesson now makes a 5.7 pistol, and Palmetto State Armory also makes the Palmetto State 5.7. I think it's called the Rock. I have shot a Ruger one before, and that's the only other one that I have experience with. But this is a pretty awesome gun. FN usually makes high quality stuff. Really good trigger, really well made. It's real light. It almost feels like a toy, like I said. Adjustable sights on it. Very controversial. I don't think it really caught on as to replacing the 9mm, but as with everything, you can't tell 9mm people anything. you could put a 5.56 round in a pistol, and they're still going to tell you their 9mm is better. But anyway, folks, I wanted to show you this this FN 5.7 and see what your thoughts are on it. It's known as the one that will go through the bulletproof vest. Folks, you got to have the right kind of ammunition, and it's very low level body armor that it will pierce, but it will do it. And just a very low recoil. Another thing I wanted to bring up is a lot of people compare this to a 22 Magnum. They said this thing is no better than a 22 Magnum. Well, I'm going to tell you folks, that's incorrect. A 22 Magnum usually has about, 12 to 1300 feet per second velocity, and this thing is going to be 2000 plus. That's not true with the 22 Magnum. 22 Magnum is an awesome round. I do have several weapons that shoot 22 Magnum, but this is at a whole different level. This is a center fire cartridge that kind of looks like a rifle cartridge, so it's going to be a lot more reliable, and it does have a lot more power. But anyway, folks, you got any questions on this? I'm not an expert on it, but I do know a lot about them. I know enough to be dangerous, and this is a real controversial pistol, or at least it was for a while, but pretty cool piece to have. Have any questions on it, feel free to ask, and I will be happy to get back with you. Thank you very much for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.